Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Brave Bear Show. I'm your host, Bernie Shung, and I'm so excited and I say this every week, and I'm going to say it every week because I am excited, but I'm excited to bring back from season one of my intuitive development and spiritual mentors, Linette Meder. Welcome, Amanda.
Hey, thank you for having me back, Bernie. I'm very excited to be here and really excited about our conversation today.
Awesome, awesome. And I'm excited to have you. I think I've told you this before, but I'm gonna tell you again. I kind of fangirl on you because I love the way you show up. I love your voice. By voice, I'm talking about like your branding voice too, and really who you are and what you stand for. And so anytime I've ever, purchased any of your teachings and been in your circles and have really consumed the stuff that you really help me with, which is feeling more confident about my intuitive gifts, which that's who, you're the one I go to for that, more primarily than anybody else who's been here on the show. But I fangirl about you. And so when you're here on my show, I'm like, oh my God, she said yes to me. So thank you for that. I feel honored and privileged for you to be here in the Brave Bear community. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. But if anybody did miss season one, which I'll include a link in the show notes to return to that so you can see what we talked about in the first season, why don't you give a quick background on you? And I like to preface this by saying, feel free to go as far back as you need to, but let people know, really who you are, what you do in the world, and who are you currently serving right now?
So, my background is actually in ecology and environmental sciences. And I came into doing spiritual teaching and teaching spiritual concepts and intuition professionally in graduate school, which I graduated from, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago now. Spirituality was in my childhood growing up almost the whole time. My mom's Welsh, she's from Wales, and her whole family and some of the members of her background are very much about there being a spirit world and the natural world and rocks and plants and houses and objects all having a soul. So, and it was just kind of my raising, that kind of brought me to a spiritual understanding in a sense. And then my father's background, he's part Romanian and they're part Eastern European. So there was always a spiritual lore kind of in my childhood all throughout the time. And my grandparents had a Christian bookstore, and I worked there for a little while as a child. And all of this was kind of in the background or underneath while I pursued ecology, natural resources, kind of moving into adulthood. Then when I was in graduate school and I was feeling confident and I was finishing my thesis and I was doing all sorts of tests and cross analysis with different types of plants and pollution, I started to think about, okay, pollution is a symptom, of society. What is the cause? Is it, why are humans polluting? So I started to think more and more about that. And I had this strong desire to learn, like, why is there human suffering? Like, why are we overusing? Why are we doing these things, to the environment? People love nature. People love animals. Everybody I talk to has a feeling about different wild spots. So why is there pollution? So I started to say, all right, I need to figure this out. And around that time, a bunch of different resources started coming into my life, psychic classes, old relatives starting to come in, kind of reminding me of different spiritual gifts in the family. Just synchronistically, things start to come in. And I was like, all right, well, all these resources are here. I have this evening, I have this time. I'm going to learn about this. So I set up a little study, and I was like, if people want to volunteer to connect with spirit or to try out different psychic things, I'm just going to set up a little test, and we'll do 100. We'll connect with spirit for 100 people, see if that works. And if I'm better than 75, I get a better than 75 average. C was my baseline. That's what you needed to keep your funding, in graduate school. So I was like, well, that's what I need. I need a baseline of C. So we're going to start there. And if 75 or better, I get results, then there's something here. And I want to serve people, and I want to help people be happier and freer, because if people are happier and freer and they feel more connected, then at my time, it was my idea and my hypothesis, and it still is, that there's less pollution of the planet then, because people are more happy,
Right.
they're more content. So that's kind of how I got into doing this. And then from those original readings that I did, and the idea was to do psychic readings because the reason people, this is just what Buddha says, is the reason people suffer, the reason they say, there's usually an underlying reason. So the words they say are often different from the underlying reason. So the idea was to do psychic readings, because in psychic readings and spiritual readings, you often find out the underlying, and you can bring out the underlying cause, and also you can identify the path out. You know, you can identify the path
Right.
out. So that was really something that caught me, was we can not only identify the cause in a psychic reading or mediumship reading, but we can identify the different paths out. So it just kind of took off from graduate school, and I took, shortly after that, people started asking me to teach. And because I used to teach ecology and science classes, I was like, well, if I can teach that, I can probably teach this. And it just kind of has been flourishing like that ever since. So it's kind of my background. So my background is in teaching, but more in the sciences, for about 10 years or so. And then I started teaching in the spiritual studies probably about, I would say, almost getting close to 8 years ago now. So I'm here, and it kind of took off naturally and organically on its own, and has kept me engaged ever since. So it's
Yeah.
my basic background.
I love that pollution story. That's my first time hearing it. And maybe you wrote it somewhere, but I don't remember reading it. But I love that, because when we think of, we humans are polluting our earth, our world, we think of physical pollution, right? What I toss out unconsciously. But it's like there is also like that spiritual and emotional pollution, right? That toxicity that we carry with us. We can be toxic people. We can hang around toxic people. We can create a lot of toxic situations and pollute the world with all this toxicity. I never really thought about it that way in terms of really what led you to do this work, because you really are still fighting pollution. Wouldn't you agree?
we're
To
still
some degree.
we're still clearing it, and we're clearing it every day. And it starts with the mind and the heart, and it starts with like just a bunch of different ideas that people have, or that people have absorbed over time. But what I've learned in doing readings is that pretty much everybody is a divine being. Pretty
Yeah.
much everybody has connection to divine source or divine consciousness. Essentially, everybody is, spirit in body. So, it can be cleared, and you can kind of work with pollution. And one thing with pollution always is that it just cycles through the system and gets cleansed naturally. So
Right.
sometimes when people do spiritual work, like, all the pollution gets cleared out on its own over time. And that's kind of the best part about it, is that, once you kind of put the ball in motion on a lot of cleanup projects, either the physical ones that I used to do for waterways or the internal ones, it's like some of those will just, once you kick the ball down the hill, it just starts
Yeah.
going and going and
Right.
going, and things get clearer over time. But yeah, I guess in a sense, you're
Yeah.
right. In a
Right.
sense,
No,
you're right. I'm
absolutely.
still doing that work, just from
You
another
are.
angle.
You are. Absolutely. And, I think the other thing too is once you unlearn the unconscious things that you used to do, and I'm going to use Ayurveda for example, just because I've enrolled in an Ayurveda master's program. Which, why the heck did I add another master's degree to my, and like I wasn't like you, I finished my degree, maybe more than a decade ago, and I wasn't going to go back to school for another master's. But anyway, long story short, the reason I decided on Ayurveda was because I had been making a lot of unconscious choices in eating and diet and lifestyle and exercise for a long time. I didn't know, and just real a quick aside, for those of you who aren't familiar with Ayurveda, it's an ancient healing system that originated in India. And basically, the concept is that we all are born with a natural constitution, right? Our body has these natural qualities and these natural tendencies. And if we understand the nature of our body and our mind and our behaviors, then we can stay in balance. And if there are certain activities we shouldn't do, right, that bring us out of balance, that's what could create sickness. That's what could create disease. So I was interested in this program because I'm like, I want to be more conscious with choices. I want to be more conscious of what I'm eating, what I'm doing, how I'm living in the world, right? Like pollution, one of them, like how can I live a little more green? How can I make better choices that help the environment and help the people around me? I can't unlearn these things I know now, Amanda. So I think even similar to, the intuitive work that you do, once you've opened yourself up and once you've become more in tune with yourself, once you've kind of opened up that portal to your divine wisdom or your higher self or God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, it's really hard to go back from there. Wouldn't you agree? To unlearn all of these things that have now opened you up.
Yeah, I would agree. And, Ayurveda being like a system of balance, I've never heard it described that way before, but it makes sense and it's very cool. And when you start to learn like the different systems of balance, Ayurveda, being one now, I think that it's very difficult to unknow it, like to
Yeah.
unlearn the truth. And it's kind of like once some system of balance or some system of awareness gets you, it gets you, and you
Yeah.
kind of have to pay attention to it, that grabbing on your heart. And then once it's there, it's very, very difficult to live your life any other way. It's like once a system of truth or once a system of awareness gets you, a system of maintaining balance or order or consciousness, it's basically with you then. And
Right.
then it's really just bringing in like other systems of balance or other systems of awareness and consciousness start to find you. And then it becomes more rooted into your daily routine and, maintaining balance and maintaining equilibrium. And I know that we talked about this in season 1, I think with empath health and wellness.
Yes,
It
exactly.
starts to become part of your nature then, and it just starts to become, who you are as a person. So there's like master's degrees are difficult because there's a huge amount of information right up front,
Yes.
and
Yes.
there's a curve. It's almost like you have to remember I'm learning this, I need to train
Hmm.
myself this new way. But then once you move past that, that curve of anything, of learning or kind of getting a new system down, then it starts to become second nature, and then it just
Right.
starts to become nature.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so what opened you up? I know that one of the questions I want to ask everybody who comes on season 2 is there obviously was maybe one or a few defining moments in your life where you kind of had that aha moment or something really significant happened and really opened you up and led you on this trajectory. So the first part of the question is really, what was that moment in your life? And then how did that inform you now, right? Much more, we're older, we're wiser, we know what we know, but now that we look back at old self, what do we wish we had then, either as a resource or as a guide, or maybe in the form of a person that could have really helped us, shape us into who we really wanted to be during kind of those formative years, or maybe that time where we were first learning the thing. So I know it's a lot of questions, but feel free to take it where you need to.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was just talking about, this like one defining moment, or like one defining spiritual aha or spiritual awakening moment with a guy up in New York like 2 days ago. Like what was the moment, or what is the moment where of conscious awareness? And I think for me, the moment of conscious awareness that there's more here, than we physically can see or touch with our physical senses, and we all have these additional senses. The first thing for me was actually when I was first started, all doing this intuitive work. I was in my apartment one night and I woke up in the middle of the night with, uh, I heard things moving out in my kitchen, things moving across the table. And I'd had like objects move in the past, but I went out into the living room just to see. I thought maybe there was an intruder there. I was like, all right, well, if an intruder was there, kind of odd that they just be moving things around, like they're just like moving things
Well, they try to be
around. Like,
quiet and
yeah,
secretive.
yeah, wouldn't they? So I went out into my kitchen and there were stones, moving across the table. And
You could actually see the movement.
yeah, and it didn't
Wow.
stop, while I was seeing it. And it was at that moment where I saw, okay, something non-physical is moving it. I have a level surface, something non-physical is happening here. And so I think the physical movement of objects by the spirit world was one moment where it's just you're by yourself, in spirit. And oftentimes these awakening moments happen when you're by yourself, no one there to deny it, there's no one there to calm it down. They're just more profound a lot of times when you're alone. So you're by yourself and, there's just these objects moving in front of you and with no non-physical or no physical source. And it was one of those moments where, okay, like we are not alone. There's something else here. I must know,
Please
I
tell me you
must.
were at least scared. Were you scared?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But, I'd had seen things move before like that. like
Okay.
all through my 20s, you know, and then those
Okay.
moments I was scared, I'd close the door, I'd slam the door, and I'd be like, this is impossible. You know, there's no way, like there's some physical thing had to have done this. But yeah, I was, you know, and I had called my sister, and we had both known people who had recently passed, and she was kind of like, well, maybe it's them, you know, because we knew that the deceased could move things. And, you know, she kind of helped walk me through it, you know. So I think one of the things that um, I would like other people to know about it is that even though you have sometimes these spiritual awakening moments when you're alone, you know, there are other people out there that have these moments, and they're just waiting for the moment to tell you about them. You know, now that I do this for a living, there's people that you will think that, you know, they're too scientific or they're too logical, they're never going to understand. But
Mm.
oftentimes, you know, we have these moments alone and then we don't share them. But there's others out there, millions of them, that have these moments where they see a physical object move, or they see writing on the wall, you know, where they see like an object float across the space, or they hear a voice, a guide maybe,
Right.
and say nothing for many years, you know, and then
Right.
that fear can kind of like, you know, of what it is, and of the downside of what it could be,
Right.
oftentimes will keep people, you know, closed off, you know.
Right. Right. Wow. Okay, so let's think about that person then, right? And scientific or not, maybe you're closeted, if you want to call it that, afraid to tell people, right?
Hmm.
What if
Hmm.
people think I'm crazy? What if people think I'm lying? What if I speak it out loud and I make it happen again, right? I
Yes.
know a lot. I know a lot of people in that camp. I know a lot of people in that camp. If I don't say it, if I do this, then it's not there, right? Like I get people
Yeah.
who do that all the time to me.
Yep,
What,
yep, yep, yep,
you
yep.
know, I guess if we use them as the example, then what is the first maybe piece of advice, or what would we want to, what wisdom do we want to impart on them today then? Because here's the thing, it's easy for us to be like, just don't worry about it, you know, just do this, just do that, but it's
Yeah.
scary and it's hard. Where do we start?
Hmm. Well, the first thing is that if you are in that place where you're closeted, is to just know that, you know, if you're going to be telling people about it, you know, there are people, you know, in our families and in our soul groups who may have fear too. And if you know
Back up
somebody
a
who,
second. What do you mean by that? In our family and our soul groups, what do you mean by that?
so if you're going to share spirit, so in our family or in our soul group, a lot of times what I found is true is that a person who has a spiritual experience, and then they're like, all right, I need to work this out in my mind somehow, but I'm concerned, and I need to work this out somehow, but I'm concerned about stigmas. Oftentimes when they start speaking out about these things, it will take the other family members or the friends of that person's first comment may be the first time that all the other members of the soul group are confronting this thing or
Got
confronting the
it.
stigma. There's usually like a first in the family type of situation I found with a lot of people, the first to speak out,
The first to
the
say
first,
it, not
a first
necessarily
to
the first
say
to
it.
experience it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, not
Okay.
necessarily the first to experience it, because then what will happen is when you start speaking, people will start to remember like things that happened to them 25 years ago, you know, and
Right.
then they'll start to come out. So, you know, when the first to pop the bubble speaks out, sometimes you have a lot of these shadows that come out of the closet, other people's shadows. So I think what I wish that I had, you know, my earlier self had known is to not really put too much stock into a person's first reaction when you
Right.
share. You know, if you're going to
Right.
share, look, this thing happened to me, to try not to put too much stock in a person's reaction, because there's so many split, like second chemical reactions and thoughts and emotions and flashes and memories that a person will have in a moment,
Yeah.
that they may not be able to, when confronted with something new for the first time or in a spiritual experience, be able to fully compute or with words, you know, and be the support person that you need. So I think what I would say is just try not to put a ton of stock in the first reaction that somebody gives you to a spiritual experience, because that person who reacted, you know, in a, you know, in one judgment badly could
Right.
actually end up being your biggest supporter. You know, they could
That
end
is
up
true.
being the one who's the one behind you, the one who does all the research for you, you know, the one who is your biggest hype person in the end, you
Right.
know, but in that split second, you know, suddenly your experience is calling them and asking them to bring up 30 years, 40 years sometimes of memories, putting all the pieces together of how this could be going on. So
Right.
sometimes when we have these experiences where it seems like a piece of the veil or something has stepped through from the other world to this world, that pierce of the veil can really like just unravel a lot of things for a lot of people around you, not just you. So I often like to tell people to try to have empathy with those around them, but
Mm-hmm.
also just to not tolerate abuse too. Like you do not have to
Right.
tolerate abuse. And I like to remind people that, even though someone's confronting fears, you don't have to tolerate like negative statements, because it's very important to remember that people who have spiritual gifts, in past history and in past years, oracles, valued by kings and queens, these divine beings that, societies revered and found wise. And when you wake up to realizing that you're a divine being and you have these divine gifts and you're empathetic and you're aware and all that starts to open up, you may not be sitting in a place where you sometimes all we have when we open up is just a pillow on the floor, like that's all you have, that's all you have. But then the divine starts to come in around you. Like the more that you embrace it, the more that the divine energy that you radiate, you start to call it in.
Yeah.
So when you first open up, just not to take too much stock in your physical situation,
Right.
because as you evolve and as you grow and as you open, the physical does start to change around you, and it does start to become more supportive to, the divine path, and the awakening process.
Right. I love where you took that because it just made me even think about, myself at times. So full disclosure here, I suffer from imposter syndrome. I think pretty much all of us do. And there are times where I'm like, who am I to think that I'm this great intuitive healer, consultant, whatever, right? I'm sitting behind a computer. There's this piece of paper as a screen behind me and my dog's on the bed behind that. Oh, some, expert you are, right? So it's like, because I can see my mess, because I can see what's behind this perfectly crafted pink window here, I often can feel like I'm not, equipped, or there's always somebody better, right? Or maybe I'm not being truthful. But so when it comes to, being able to share stories for the first time, perfect case in point, even with my family members, I'm the only one who's out about being intuitive, but I can count on, yeah, at least one hand how many people are intuitive in my family, right? They either don't know it or they're not saying it, but I'm not going to force them to do it. I'm not going to judge them, but I hope they're not judging me either. But at the end of the day, I have to let go of the expectation of the kind of outcome I want from them, because it's about speaking my truth and it's about living my truth and being authentically me, right? So I think the other part I'd piggyback on your answer would be, if speaking out about it and expressing yourself and being open and sharing your story and sharing the truth helps you and can improve and be a positive way to give back, to support your mission, if you will, then we have to do it, right? Keeping closeted, keep holding it inside, hiding it, if that hurts you, I think the greater fear for me is the fear of not allowing myself to express my true authentic self. That is more scary to me than me expressing myself and somebody rejecting me. So I think it's kind of finding that, you know, balancing those fears and going with the path that leads you more towards the authenticity. What's your take on that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think going towards the path that is leading towards more authenticity, even with clients, oftentimes when you do like spiritual guiding or spiritual awakening or, holding the light, of consciousness, oftentimes you'll come upon people who are somewhere on the spectrum of where they are in the light, or accepting or embracing it, or fear or skeptical. And I think that with working with, your family and your support system, but even with clients, holding your authentic truth,
Yeah.
I think is the most important thing that you can do, like being a source of light strength for others, even when people around don't feel so strong. That's the biggest gift, that
Right.
you can be, like as a coach, or as an empath, or as a wellness, guide. A lot of people that I work with are empathetic, they are sensitive to other people's feelings. So just knowing that just because you can feel it doesn't mean you have to mirror it,
Right.
and just knowing, okay, I'm cognizant of that this feeling is present, and somehow I've stepped into this space where the feeling is there, but knowing that you don't have to like embody it or own it or take it as your own. Sometimes it's almost like when you do light working stuff or when you do psychic reading, sometimes you are just kind of on the shore, and you're throwing a life vest out to others and you're not necessarily diving into the energy with them. And
Right.
kind of holding your energy, I think, is very important, and managing your energy and knowing that, spirit, everybody has these gifts, but we all awaken to them at different times. And spirit will bring two people together, for a very specific reason, usually to harmonize some sort of energy, usually to exchange some sort of teaching. And as long as you maintain your truth, like you said earlier with the Ayurveda, once you know it, it's really hard to
Yeah.
unknow it,
Yeah.
and just saying like, I know it, this is the truth, this is my experience, and holding on to that in the face of other things, I think is one of the things I would say to myself as younger, just as the younger me, is you can do that. Like you can hold
Right.
on to your
Right.
truth in the face of other fears, in the face of
Right.
other people's emotions, and just say like, no, this is true. And this is what I've seen is true. And because this is the truth as I've seen it, and then it will likely continue this way, I'm going to put my
Right.
stock in, in a certain reality. And I think it's okay to do that. And I think that doing it and putting your stock in a different reality than the realities around sometimes is what's needed, and I think
Yep. Yep.
as an empath or as a psychic or as an intuitive or as someone who is in like the corporate world and using intuition, in business, I think sometimes kind of stepping and being in your own reality is a gift to everybody else,
Right. Yeah. Well, I can attest to the work you do. If we go back to kind of the top of the show, I found you. I'm not sure if I told you this. I might have just Googled something like psychic development or psychic protection, and you guys, Amanda is all over the interwebs, okay? And I'm going to make you blush here, but I mean, the reality is I found you because I was doing the keyword search, but then when I clicked on your website and I read your blogs, I read all the free stuff you did. You remind me a lot of my other coach. He's an authentic business and marketing coach. And so, I kind of have each of you for different parts of my life, but very similar to him, you give so much away for free, a lot of great information, a lot of resources and tips and tools. And I think after consuming your stuff for at least, a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months, I finally saw that you were offering like a membership. And so encouraging people who want to develop themselves more intuitively to do this kind of work that I'm doing now, then you offered the opportunity to work with you. And so I have come into your membership group several times now, and I learned so much from you. But I want to validate you, because when I take a look now at everything I know about your history, your education, your experiences, your background, and really your ethos in life and work and your mission, you are the epitome of that in the way you teach, because you are so organized. I could never be as organized as Amanda, you guys, which is why I don't have a membership program, which is why I do one-offs, okay? Because you're so organized, you give away so much, you're an amazing teacher, so
Thank you.
easy to learn from. You're so smart. There's stuff that you say where I'm like, oh, I'm so glad she explained it that way, because that went way over my head, right? I mean, the stuff you know a lot of historical information. Anyway, all this to say, if there is anybody who is interested in intuitive development, I do, very high level kind of beginner stuff, but I mean, Amanda can take it to a whole new level. So, we'll make sure in the show notes that we include links to, her membership site, her blog, and anything else to get more of Amanda. But she's definitely my go-to person for intuitive and spiritual development. So, so thank you, because without your work, I honestly don't even think I'd have this show or the things that I do. I mean, you really helped me to believe that I am enough to do this work, and I'm not afraid to speak my truth and go out and be with you, right? Join, lock elbows and
Yeah.
join the club,
Hand in
right?
hand.
Hand in
Yeah.
hand. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I'm validating you. You do a fantastic job. So keep that up. Okay,
Thank
with that,
you.
we're going into this exciting lesson. I told you and all my other guests, you guys can choose whatever topic you want. So, what do you have for us today? Please teach us.
So today I looked at the lesson and everything last night, and I had something all planned out last night. I was like, we're going to do this and this is going to be super important. And then I changed it around 9 p.m. last night, something else. So that happens sometimes, I'm just like, something else tomorrow would be better. So for the lesson today, or for the exercise today, I kind of would like to walk everybody listening through a process of meeting a guardian spirit. And sometimes this is called an ancestral spirit or an archangel or a protector guide, but through a process of kind of linking their energy with a guardian spirit energy. Guardian spirit energies are really protective. They're really loving. They're really kind. They can watch over the land. You can give them guardianship roles over anything that you're concerned about. The 5 major points of suffering really, for people are money, health and wellness, love and partnership and feeling appreciated, feeling seen, a career, and then oftentimes family harmony. So love and relationship is different because it's a little bit more like romantic love, but family harmony is kind of like the piece underneath a rainbow. A lot of people are looking for that. So that's pretty much the 5 things. Career is with life purpose. And again, it's really, you can call forward a guardian spirit for family harmony, love and relationships, career/purpose. And I think I said, what else did I say? I said love and relationships, family harmony, career and purpose, money, and health and wellness. Those are the 5, typically the main areas when someone is experiencing a change in their life, like a lot of people are right now with the thing that's going on. A lot of people are experiencing major changes in their lives in one of these areas. And when we have a major change that's going on in any of these areas, it'll affect all the other areas.
Right. Because they're all interrelated.
They're all interrelated. You may have an imbalance in one area like family, and it's going to affect career, or it's going to affect money or something. Those are the most common places. It's all interconnected. So usually what I tell people is when we work with spirit, just know that we might balance one area, but you may notice like a leveling out in another area too, like in another perk too, because spirit guidance oftentimes is non-linear, it's cyclical. So it'll oftentimes go around in a circle where you'll receive an intuition to do something and it won't be directly connected to your wish or your desire or what you want to see fulfillment in. And it's just because it's all interrelated, and you'll have spirit will ask you to make an adjustment, or your intuition will be like, adjust here. And you may see benefits like 180 degrees the other way, and I think that's one of the miracles of it is you'll make one adjustment, like for example, Birdie in health, a lot of people are making adjustments in health right now.
Right.
And then you may see benefits in, all the other 4 areas, you didn't even expect. So that's kind of where the miracle work comes in, is you make one small tweak in one area. So, and you see the miracles in all the other areas. You see the small like changes in the lights in the other places. So that's kind of the most exciting part of my work, is getting to see like the one thing that spirit or intuition or your higher self guides you to do. You make this tiny move and then it can change a bunch of other things. Guardian spirits, they will help with watching over the things that people have concern over, whether it's their physical safety or whether it's their security in a certain area. So for this exercise, what I would like everybody to do listening, and us included, me and you included, always when you call forward a spirit energy, you want to think about you're calling forward just a helper friend, just a helper energy with you. We're not alone in this universe. We are social beings in this realm and in the other realm. So having like a network of support is critical, and it's almost integral to our happiness and our survival here. In our like eternal connection to all things. So what I would like for this exercise is we'll move through the process of a protector spirit and calling in a guardian spirit. But for the first part, always in calling forward spirit, we want to set an intention. So just take one moment now for everybody listening. Take a big deep breath in and out. And then at the bottom of the exhale, this one or the next one, some people like to inhale, exhale 3 times. You want to set an intention for what you would like for the guardian spirit in your life to look over for you so that you can focus on your purpose. Choosing one of the 5 areas. All right, so everybody having an intention set now. The next step to calling forward spirit energy is completely clearing your portal, completely clearing your channel of energy. So we're going to do a quick grounding and clearing, just really quick. Bernie, I think it should take a minute or two. We'll do a quick grounding and clearing, and then we're going to practice calling in and out spirit energy. A quick preface before calling in and out spirit energy is a lot of the times your guardian spirit is going to be somebody from your heritage or your ancestry or your area of study recently. So some people will see their guardian spirit as a spirit guide. Some people will see their guardian spirit as like an earth deva, you know, if that's their ancestry, you know, or if that's their family's history or that's what they're interested in. Some people will see them as an archangel, some as a loved one. You know, oftentimes guardian spirits are joyful, they're happy. But the whole note here is to just notice what they look like and what they feel like. Some people will see them in their mind's eye. Some people will notice a change in the way that their energy feels. Holding on to that, once we do it, start to notice when that feeling comes back to you or when that image comes back to you, because it'll be an indicator of when your guardian spirit is with you after this call. You can always call forward your guardian spirit energy, you know, anytime, but kind of once you call them in, they're always there looking over your thing, looking over your property. So for the next step, let's do a grounding and clearing, and then we're going to practice calling in and out a guardian spirit energy. You may have seen, some people have dreams of who their guardian is. So you may have even sensed them before. So breathing in and out and closing your eyes. I'm going to close my eyes just because that's the easiest way to focus on the non-physical. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. One more inhalation. And on the exhalation, begin to visualize a beam of divine light, almost as golden or like the sun, coming in behind you, in behind your energy field. Almost as though the sun was at your back. And visualize that beam of sun energy kind of sending light through each and every one of your chakras. If you're new to chakras, it's energy balls of light at your heart, at your stomach, at your hips, at your throat, up and down your spine, visualizing a beam of light just going right through the spine, all the way up the neck, all the way down to the hips. Bringing your attention down to your hips. Notice as this beam of light at your root chakra, or at the base of your spine, the sacrum. Notice this beam of light begins to divide and enter in and go down your right hip and then your left, your right knee, and then your left. Your right foot, and then your left. And beginning to notice that beam of light coming out of your toes, starting to shimmer out of the palms of your feet. Once here, bring your attention back up to your belly, up your legs, up your hips, up to your belly. Bring your attention up and up into your heart area, up and up into your throat, up and up into the space between your ears. Noticing this beam of light, just completely filling that space between your ears with light, with glitter, just the shimmer on the top of water. Going up to the crown of your head. At this place, visualize a beam of blue light coming down. It's down from the sky. Notice this beam of blue light kind of washing over the front of your body, washing over the front of your face, washing over the front of your heart, washing over the front of your arms and your legs. And begin to visualize this blue light starting to pool next to you. I like to visualize this pool of excess light, this storage of light on the left side of my body. Just notice this pool of light beginning to fill alongside you until you have almost an aura of energy alongside you, almost an egg shape of this pure crystal blue energy. Watch as the golden light begins to fill in behind it. And here, take 3 deep breaths in and out. And begin to ask that a guardian spirit step in alongside you. Notice if you sense a bigger energy coming in. If it feels more masculine or feminine. If you can see a face. And asking for a name. Seeing if you get anything internally. Spirit often speaks telepathically. Seeing if you can put a name to any change in the feeling that you sense in your body. Taking 3 deep breaths now. Asking that spirit to just back up out of your energy field. We can do one last time calling them in. So another deep breath. Ask that a guardian spirit step in. And here recall your intention, what you asked that they would have guardianship over. And imagine that thing, that area, having a symbol, any symbol you choose. visualize yourself handing that symbol over to your guardian. Noticing what they do with it. Do you see anything in your mind's eye? And notice if you hear any words. Breathe in and out. Inhaling and exhaling. So if your eyes are closed, please begin to open them now. With guardian spirit meditations, I normally allow the spirit energy to stay with you throughout the day. So in a lot of spirit exercises, we ask the spirit to leave. But in this case, you can just allow the spirit energy to be with you through the rest of the day. And then after this meditation, and if you're feeling good with it, one of the things you can do after calling in a guardian spirit is ask for proof or evidence that they're with you. Evidence you can ask for in terms of seeing your symbol. If you gave a symbol to the thing that you wanted guardianship over, seeing that symbol can be evidence. Usually
Give me
spirit
an example
energy.
of a symbol.
So for example, if a lot of people have been asking me recently about income, about money. So sometimes for money, people will visualize like a wad of bills or something like that.
Got it.
That would be a symbol. For like health, a lot of times people will visualize like lettuce, like lettuce leaves. For some reason,
Salad.
yeah, like lettuce leaves. A lot of people will see that, and usually you kind of want to pay attention to like the thing that you're asking for guardianship over. Where's that energy being mirrored? So if you see the symbol somewhere, or you get the feeling that you got in that meditation with you, just know that that's like a moment that spirit wants you to pay attention, and it kind of wants you to follow that lead. A lot of times guardian spirits, what they like to do is they like to guide you in the direction, of the thing that they're providing guardianship over. So pay attention to the energy that you felt doing that meditation. If it comes back, when, looking for that moment of illumination, when am I feeling that again? When am I feeling that same sense? For example, if your guardian spirit was Archangel Michael, for example, that's one type. Sometimes people have dragon energy as their guardian spirit. But say if it was Archangel Michael and you got a sense of fortitude, or you picked up this feeling, like you were feeling like fortitude, noticing as you move about the next day or two, other things that give you that sense as you're browsing a web page or as you're responding to an email. What does this email give me? Do I have this feeling of fortitude responding to this? And paying attention to that guiding feeling that you got with the guardian spirit meditation can usually help, you work and co-cooperate with the spirit world to create like this balance, that most of us seek again. So that's their whole goal, is to bring us back to balance. And if we kind of pay attention to the energy we feel when the guardian energy is there, then oftentimes what will happen is it'll lead us back to that equilibrium point.
That's amazing. And thank you I'm glad you picked this exercise, because I've been having brain fog I've got like so many deadlines all at the same time. Don't ask me why I did it, but I did it. So I'm suffering from a little bit of insomnia. And this brought me back to center and focus and clarity, which when you have brain fog or when you're sleep deprived, you tend to not have. So I love that we were able to do this in just a few minutes in the middle of, it might be an afternoon over there. It's still mid-morning over here. But how often can a person use this kind of exercise throughout their day or throughout their week, would you say?
Some people do it every day. Some people do calling forward like a guardian spirit or like a strength spirit, every day. I usually say that at least once a month, I recommend to people is kind of aligning with your own spirit energy with divine consciousness. And a guardian spirit is really just one aspect of divine consciousness.
Right.
You could do it in a variety of ways. This meditation is one of them, where you kind of align with divine essence. And the goal of divine essence and divine consciousness is a state of harmony, you know, to bring
Yeah.
people to that family harmony picture.
Right.
That is oftentimes the goal. So when you align to the goal of a guardianship spirit, oftentimes you're in alignment with divine consciousness. Usually if you feel fog, it's definitely a sign that, like a lot of energy, there's a lot of change. That fog or dust happens with change or movement.
Yeah.
But usually decisions feel best and we feel the most secure when the water is clear, you
That's
know,
right.
or when the air is clear. So if anytime you feel fog is a great time to do it, you know. And I like to do the guardianship or the meditations in the morning. Oftentimes, and my guides have shared with me that oftentimes worry energy and anxiety energy is often highest in the evening time.
That makes sense. Yep.
So trying to tap into divine consciousness when the psychic airwaves are in another frequency, you know, more
Right.
often
That
than
makes
not.
sense.
You
Right.
know, I find that doing the clarity meditations, to me, you going with the flow and going when it's easiest to tap in, when it works for you. In some people's neighborhoods, the clarity where they live is the clarity is the best in the evenings. So using your own empathic abilities or intuitive abilities, paying attention to when the clarity feels the best in your environment psychically, you know, when things feel just clear and crisp in general, that's a great time to align with that energy, you know, and call it in and use it to your advantage. So I recommend it, you know, as often as once per day, as little as once per month, you know.
Okay.
And we do in the membership program, we know we do a monthly
Yep.
call where we just do this. So we just do it and we
Yeah. Oh
schedule
my
it once
gosh.
per
And
month.
you guys, she has amazing
but,
meditations
but
in there, like a meditation for anything about anything and anywhere. And I'm seriously, check it out. Check out her membership. You won't regret it.
yeah,
Perfect
yeah,
segue though. Feel free to close out the
yes.
show. What do you do? What do you offer? How can Brave Bears work with you?
So my main offering, and I do have e-products for one-offs and meditations for one-offs or specific needs. The primary reason that people connect with me is to open their connection to align with spirit energy, to align their own soul with, you know, spirit collective consciousness, walk in path with their destiny. We work with the spirit world to do this primarily in the membership program. And the spirit world opens up your intuitive abilities, you know, and they, as you work with the different non-physical energies, they'll open up your intuitive abilities. But primarily in the membership program, that is my main offering. And it's a monthly rotating intuitive development class. And we focus on every other month. We tend to do something more grounding or more root chakra, more crown chakra every other month. And we focus on one topic that's related to spiritual or intuitive development. And it's a month long, I would say basically a tour, basically a tour where you get a lesson at the start of the month and then you get follow-ups throughout the month, a second part and a third part and a way to close out. And it's a take at your own pace, you know, in this world that we live in and this, with the internet and all the amazing things that that brings, you know, the membership program allows you to kind of hop in anytime during the week. You know, around the start of the month is when we begin every month, but you can hop in anytime during the week, kind of pick up where we are, gain all the materials for that month, and you can stay with us for the next couple months of themes and classes, or you can hop out and just hop back in anytime one of the themes appeals to you. So it's a monthly class, and when you join, there's tons of archives. The main, I would say, one of the archives I'm most proud of is the meditation archive.
Yes, yes.
There's like 60 or 70 downloads that if you are just very economical about your choices, you know, if you're very economical about your choices, I feel that the meditation library is, you know, in enough, you know, alone that you could just
Right,
join for that. You know, you could
right.
just join for that, or you could join for the monthly class. You could join for all the technique videos if you learn by videos. There's a technique video library too. And there's also a support community of other intuitives and empaths that are learning. And we get together as part of the membership program for a once monthly live class that's available. And also in a support group and a kind of a validation group called the Spirit Lounge. So there's the, you know, there's a supportive group available to listen and validate, you know, your experiences, you know, and that's there for you. There's a live class, and then there's this rotating class that goes on every single month. And I really enjoy it. It keeps me on my toes. As you mentioned, Bernie, the history is my favorite part. So we
Yes.
oftentimes do include historical aspects of spiritual work and intuitive work. And it's what keeps me learning. So you learn with me, you know, as part of the membership program. And it's kind of one of those things where we go hand in hand together, you know, in this journey.
Yeah. Well, go check it out, you guys. It's AmandaLynetteMeder.com, but everything will be in the show notes. But I can vouch for it. Like I said, I've taken several, I don't want to call them courses, themes, right? I've purchased several themes and been in your membership programs many times, going in and out with the stuff that was most appealing to me. And most recently, it was the past lives reading one that really, really like, oh man, okay, got it. So I won't, belabor the point. She's awesome. She's detailed, she's organized, super smart. So if you are in the Braver community and you are looking for, beginner, intermediate, or advanced level intuitive development, Amanda's your gal. And it's funny because people are like, why would you promote other people, in your space? Because the reality is I'm good at what I'm good at, and for you, this is your wheelhouse. And so that's why I have you here on the Brave Bear Show. So anyway, thank you for
Thank
the
you.
beautiful exercise. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for saying yes to season 2 and hopefully for future seasons, but we'd love to have you back. But thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to chat with you today, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you, Bernie. And thank you for having me.